When will you be done?
All right, so we are at 6:30, ready to go, right?
No, it's something.
So, just for the recording, I'm gonna go around with attendance. Start with Sid today. We have Sid, Kelly, Sarai, Shelley, Brian, Eddie, Paul, Rainey, Jen, Nita, Pam. And Evan. Sorry, I usually start with that. I know that's this was today. And as guests, we have Councilman Starr, left, and Eric Fisher. All right, so housekeeping from last week, and then introduce stuff for this week. Let's start with the minutes that Evan was so kind to send out. Did everyone get a chance to read them?
I spent money in the hospital with my wife in hip operation.
Oh, how you doing?
Good. I got this many kids.
All right. So any questions or concerns on the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes of the February 28th, 2019 Commission, Charter Commission. That's the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, we're good. All right. Other housekeeping items, I put the Sunbury meeting on the calendar. So
It's just one of the meetings, though, right?
yeah, but we were just gonna try to, a number of people expressed interest in attending. So I put the next one on the calendar just so you don't have to.
We thought it was a community meeting.
We thought it was their public hearing, not a public information session,
Yes.
and we wanted to see how they did it. And I'm not criticized about it.
I did ask Paul if he knew when they were gonna have one of those, and he said he didn't know, but he'll let us know when they are, so we can go.
We can always still go and have it be an excuse to
See, I
visit John Sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
party.
I think we did say party. That's true.
Right. Anyone else have any items carrying over from last week before we dive into a law meeting? All right. So Kelly was kind enough to type up what we had discussed last week into a more official draft. Now let's start there. And just kind of look that up.
Find it somewhere. So many notes.
It's in low.
This one, no.
It'll be by the date fairly recently.
I was about to find it out.
You want to hold the copies of those on?
That I just heard Shelley go through all my notes, so I don't have any notes actually. She found everything I got, and that's the one, so.
All right, and I believe the instructions said that everything in red is up for review, right?
Yes.
So everything except for the header.
Yeah. Look, that's gonna change over
That's
the
fine.
weeks. Come on, guys. I'm
That's fine.
being methodical.
I'm a fan of color. All right, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but Kelly, I'm gonna let you kind of walk us through it, what concerns you have, what you think is solid.
The preamble, I'm modeled after most of the preambles that are in other charters. I think this one is fairly standard. I don't really have any concerns, just kind of want, I don't get to unilaterally green check mark something.
Yeah, it looks boilerplate to me, but
Does anyone have any concerns with it? Does anyone want the preamble to be more flowery?
I would like to say that I like that you started with "we the people." That was elegant.
I move that we approve the preamble as drafted by me.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? All right, look at that, we've got one section through.
Look at us now.
I
Looking ahead of ourselves.
All right. Article 1 is another one that is more or less boilerplate.
What's with the name part?
I was modeling it after other charters. It's
That were villages.
It's establishing that we are the village of Minerva Park. If it should ever become a city, then the charter doesn't automatically become invalid. You know, it automatically kind of updates so that the word village becomes city.
I never really where you type the name.
Sorry?
Section.
Name boundaries form of government.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I'm sorry.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was confused. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, because then you have section 1.01
Yeah.
names, 1.02 boundaries, 1.03 form of government.
Right.
That's even
So the article
Yeah, okay.
section is called.
Thank you so much. Okay, I didn't, all right, move on.
Cool. Boundaries. It seemed like the other charters just, instead of trying to get all fancy like you would in a quick claim deed or something, it just said the boundaries that already exist. And then form of government, I wrote it as mayor-council-administrator. Is everyone okay with that? Can I go ahead and move that we approve my language for Article 1?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Man, I love making things great. All right. Article 2 is completely undrafted.
We'll get to it.
It's, for what it's worth, I think that Article 2 is going to be most, maybe not all, but mostly boilerplate stuff. So that much, I think, should also go fairly quickly. You know, would you be willing to maybe jump on 14% of that boilerplate language? Okay. All right. And then Article 3 is getting into the meat of everything we talked about last week. I guess, how do we want to do this? Do you want me to go section by section?
Sure. Yeah.
So 301 is the powers of council. The samples that Roger Neckler gave us were pretty uniform throughout. I will admit that all of those, 1 through 10 or whatever, those are copy paste. I didn't change any language. The impression that I got from my notes was that was what everybody wanted, so I didn't really bother making too many changes.
Change city to village.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to do that. That's because I copy pasted.
Okay, this is consistent.
Because now that you're gonna have to go back up and.
I'll fix it later.
Yeah.
All right. 301. Does anyone have any concerns, questions about the wording in it?
No.
Move to approve section 3.01.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Everyone's good.
All right. 302. Again, I kind of went, these memos are really, really helpful, so I was able to kind of just go through, look at the questions that we had answered, and found appropriate language in other charters, or kind of wrote it myself where necessary. But this is where we start to see some, this section and the next ones are kind of where we see a little bit more of the custom stuff for us. So I've got composed of 7 members. I put all of them elected at large. We're not doing wards. Here, letter C is a little bit of my language. It's not in any of the other charters, but I thought since it was something that we specifically talked about, it might make sense to clarify that. And we can go back I can change this later, but it seems like in the mayor section, it sounds like we're gonna probably have some kind of requirement that they attend the council meetings, but everyone agreed that the mayor will not have a seat on the council, so that's why I don't have a seat on there.
And the word there, do you mean, because it's only one mayor, right? Is that?
What, where?
Second line, first word, I can't have of their office, but it would be,
As compared to this.
right,
Singular,
office.
singular they
Yes.
usage, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, that's how I write my legal docs, so it just kind of was natural.
That's-
If you want me to do it further, I can.
I prefer there, it's more inclusive.
All right, this,
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know that's legal.
it's not like when I'm drafting legal documents, is how I've, over the years, automatically, I mean, letter D, members of council shall serve 4-year overlapping terms.
Yeah, I think what that is saying is that there will be some overlap among, so some will be elected in year one, and then 2 years later, the rest will be.
So that was my question as I was drafting it. I did this because that's what the other charters do, but my question, and it makes me kind of wish Paul was here, or maybe Eric knows the answer, is overlapping terms a term apart that means that it will automatically be set up so that we have half the council elected in one election cycle and then 2 years later the other half the council, or do I need to be writing that out? That's my question.
So that is going to be, your legal counsel will do a much more technical explanation. Okay, but I'm just going to tell you that if I heard you right, because I heard my name called and I paid close attention. If I understand what you're talking about, so the overlapping terms are so that you don't have a whole election necessarily at once. You don't have to do that, I don't think.
Well, we want to do that. I just want to make sure that the way I've written it is going to accomplish that, or if I need to go into more detail.
Are you saying where we're gonna start? Like, are we gonna start with all 7 or 5? Or whatever we have?
I think that is a transition.
Yeah, that is.
That'll be handled in transition language. What I mean is that it's not going to be every 4 years there are 7 council seat elections. It's on year 1, it might be seats 1, 2, and 3 and then 2 years later it would be seats, 4 through 7.
You'll have to take what you have as an example. So you'll have to take where the current terms are, because if I'm remembering correctly, you have several who are on, there have been so many changes, forgive me, over the council year and a half. You've got several that are getting elected the end of this year, I believe, and you'll have several more rotating either in 2 years. And again, I've lost a little track, but there is some rotation already as it currently exists. So you would simply, I believe you would have to, paraphrase, you have to identify those particular seats in some form, and this is all in your transition document, and then you just rotate those into how they'll be handled in your newer document. And really, if everybody's good with it, I would think that the way it's currently set up, it's already rotating as it is, and we can get the exact information back to you as to who is in what year being elected, and we'll just do it by names of current council members. That might be easiest in that regard, and then you can kind of go from there.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to work on this section a little bit more.
Yeah, let's keep reading through it. We're not gonna probably through this long,
Yeah.
Let's read through it.
And what I will actually probably do is I'm gonna send an email to Paul about that and make sure that I'm accomplishing what I need to. All right, so section 303 qualifications. I kind of stole some language from some of the other charters. A qualified elector, and then I've defined it as a person who's entitled to vote. I need to get rid of that hanging quotation mark.
So I know that Nina had mentioned that having to be resident in Minerva Park throughout their entire term. Is that something that's already covered in the Ohio Revised Code, or is that something we need to explicitly state?
I mean, I think it's explicitly stated in here. So they have to have been a qualified elector for 6 months prior and shall remain so qualified.
You got it.
Yeah.
But they don't have to go own the house.
Well, yeah. So they have to have a legal residence inside the village such that they are allowed to
So they
vote.
get their mail there.
Yeah. And I guess we can say they have to personally reside if we really care that much.
You can call it primary residence if you want.
We could, as long as they can vote, I'm happy personally, but that's my opinion.
Here's my neighbor, I was still, he's up in, like once a year, twice a year. I think he just got into the council, or something.
And then in the bylaw, it's defined person charter, person having the qualifications provided by law. And then you had a question that you put in there, but I don't know the answer.
Which one?
303 AR.
Yeah, he answered it.
Okay. I was printing up a little bubble where you had questions, but.
What is
That's okay.
We haven't had a question.
I was just asking.
Okay, so we're good with that, yes? No? Okay. Members of council shall not hold any other public office or employment with the village or any other municipality, jurisdiction, or government during a term with the following exceptions. Holding office in a political party or serving as a delegate to a political party convention, serving as a notary public, serving as a member or officer in the military reserve or National Guard, serving in any office, position, or capacity to represent the village or to further intergovernmental cooperation, and holding any office permitted by the charter or the laws of Ohio.
Anybody have questions about that?
Why is it only military reserve and National Guard? Why not active duty?
Because presumably if you're active duty, you're living on base. And we don't have any bases here.
And number 4, serving any office position or capacity to represent the village. We had talked about a charter commission or charter review. Does that include that? To my reading, that would include that. And I don't.
As an exception,
It does.
Yeah, so that
Yes.
would,
So-
I don't remember where we had landed on letting.
I'll be honest, I also do not remember. I know we talked about it, but I don't remember if we came to a conclusion.
And that's just why I brought it back up.
We didn't come to a conclusion, we were at an impasse.
Okay. Do we need more time to talk about that, or do we want to talk about it now?
Well, we're gonna be working on
Let's talk about
that legislation. We'll be working on the council.
I'd like to ask Eric,
Yes.
if that's customary. Would it be customary, a member of the council in the future to sit on the charter review?
It can, you can always.
That wouldn't be, that would not be odd, it'd be, okay.
I would leave the official legal opinion to your term, but I would say that if that's not out of bounds thing, if you, depending on how you set up your charter review commission, if I'm recalling correctly, in a couple past experiences, there were council members present for that as well, so I assume they were on the committee that was discussing wherever I was sitting at the time, of the municipalities. But I mean, there are many things your council members will serve on, whether it's PMC, future CIC, or any other types of boards or bodies. They may even serve on CODIS board, WARPC's board, anything like that. So those are all in the capacity of serving the greater good of the village. So.
Do you want to take that away and ask, as do we have to include it, or is it just?
Well, no, we certainly don't have to include, it's entirely,
Yep.
what Eric is saying is we are certainly allowed to write the charter such that sitting council people may also serve on a charter review board. The question is not can we, the question is do we want
Do you think there's a conflict of interest there?
There's no conflict of interest.
Right,
to? Well, not legally, he's, I think.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm just saying, is the person that is on reviewing a position that they currently hold?
do we want to?
That's the whole.
No.
Yeah, they are, and that's,
That's where.
that is the main reason that I don't want them, I understand Pam's concern about needing the expertise and the leadership to do it.
It depends on how many people you have, because if somebody were, on the council that was now, you got 14 other people to count that.
You're right, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a 15.
And I don't think you have quite that many members maybe to, review it, but still, to have enough so that.
I think I'm with you on that. If it's a large enough quantity of people,
Right.
I'm probably more apt to think it's okay If there's 15 people, you got a good cross-section.
If there's three.
Yeah, if it seems fair to council, if it's 7,
That's true.
then maybe it's not.
Which it could be, but you know, the last time we argued about this, which was last week, I think it was Brian who said, even if every single member of council was on the charter commission,
Assuming it's 15 people.
assuming that it's 15 people, that's only 7 of the 15. That's the only thing that makes me okay with allowing them to sit on the charter.
And I thought all the changes are voted on by the,
That's assuming the
I
council.
just wondered,
Yeah, they are.
this paragraph is the one that permits someone from council to be on, say, the Northland Advisory Board or things like
It
that.
is generally speaking, that paragraph is to allow a person who is sitting on council or otherwise employed by the village to then, like you said, be, say, for instance, on the advisory council or join a inter-municipality commission on drug prevention, that kind of stuff.
There's no have a municipal league
Yeah,
representing the village, but in the same breath, it also, without an exception, would allow that I only brought it back up because I know we.
now, what we could do is, since we're going to have a section devoted to charter review, we can just put a prohibition in the charter review section against a certain number of council or wards of something like that. I mean, we always have the flexibility to deal with this later on. I gotta admit, I have no strong opinion. I don't really care one way or the other.
I think, could we just give this a new color as something that needs to be revisited and, because everything else in it is fine, right? I just, I would hate to have one sentence that allows and another sentence, 3 pages on it disallows, and then it's which sentence did they need more?
I think we're legislating for extreme cases at this point. Like, so if 7 council members sat on there and 7 council members agreed with one another, then that would be the only time this would be a worry for us, which I don't think will ever happen.
Might be the
You're
first
right.
time all the
So-
council members agreed on it.
Exactly.
I think it's, Kelly, I think it's, Shelley, I think that it addresses your question, right?
Yes.
Eric, you had a comment, and I bumped you for sure.
Well, I mostly want to just jump on what Pam was saying. It really comes down to a limitation. You can usually just say, thou shalt have, well, as an example, 5 members on the commission, 1 shall be a council member, and that's it, because it's a liaison to council. At the end of the day, that keeps council in the know.
And
helps
I
them-
think we can do that exactly in the council charter review article that'll come much later.
Exactly.
I'd like to go back to the military reserve and National Guard, I'm fine with it that way. But just because we don't have a base, there could be a recruiting officer in Columbus
Oh, you're right.
that,
You want me to just say serve as a member or officer in the military?
Yeah.
if that's what, okay, if everybody, a military person could be on council.
With that change having been made, are there any other concerns with section 303?
No.
I move that we approve the revised language in section 303.
Are we all comfortable with section 4, and kicking that can to a different section in the charter? I'm sorry. In other words, we're gonna come back to that one before we approve this.
And I apologize, I would absolutely let us put my screen up on so you can watch me look at it, but I do not have an HDMI connection on this.
So, we would just say. I paid pretty much to use this, but. So, 303, in this council shall. 6 weeks. So, I think that could be a sticking point. Not having it say that they have lived here. Actually lived here. Lived here. I think that's what we said today.
Well, like, for example, as a college student, you don't have to live here, you just have your address here.
No, I see, this is
exactly what I'm saying. I don't want a college
Yeah,
student
and
who
that's what
doesn't
I
live
wanted.
here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want a college student who doesn't live here. I'm perfectly happy having a member of the military full-time who's stationed here and lives here. I don't want people who don't live here to be on our
So we
council.
just change our primary residence. Like, I mean, they're not gonna be,
I think that covers college students.
You could have a college student go, no issue, just by me.
Yeah, you could.
And if they live here, it's a primary residence, and it's
That's
still a
their
legal
primary
requirement.
residence.
I don't see what the problem is.
No, I don't even,
If somebody has a house here, it doesn't matter who they are, right? We don't have the exclusionary.
They also have to be able to make it to regular meetings,
Right.
right? So if you're a college student at, you know, I don't know.
Okay, whatever, it's
Berkeley,
fine, let's go on.
Well, just
I know.
to
We're
clarify, I
saying
think
it's fine. I don't
Brian
need it.
has the correct point here. Look, if you're in the National Guard and you get deployed and you're gone for 9 months, you ain't serving on council during that 9 months. You're just not, you're gonna forfeit that seat.
And similarly, if you have your residency here, but you don't actually live here, you're not gonna be able to make meetings, you're not gonna, even if you got elected, you'd be eliminated because we have a provision in there somewhere that X many meetings, council can remove you.
Yes.
Please ignore the black squares. I don't know why Word is doing that. It literally did that for the first time when I opened it at this meeting, so I blame this building.
It is this building's fault.
Needs to balance it out. Color theory.
All right, see what much green.
So 303, are we approving or coming back to that?
I made a motion. Oh, you're right, are we coming back?
If Jen is,
I can't.
No,
Let's keep going. Well, let's keep going. If there's one that's
Sorry.
on, was the one section we were gonna keep working on, so just don't change the screen.
We already have another section we're not approving.
Yeah, come on, let's just do it.
Why don't we
Let's
comment
take the vote. Let's go.
One-
There's something besides what you said.
Oh, there is. Yeah, not just you. All right.
As much as I'd like to say we're commenting.
Yeah, don't.
Bree, I thought the one that you had a question on was in 302.
No, well, yes, there's one in 302, but 303, serving in any office, this one about serving on the charter, if you put that one then. Coming back to
We did put it to bed.
I thought we had agreed that we would come back to it at,
That's not putting it
Charter.
in, that's coming back to it.
No.
but for this
It's not an
section.
issue in this section. The
We're going to
concern,
address it in the charter.
Yeah.
Right,
yes.
got it, okay,
All right,
that's what I was missing.
given all of that, I would like to move that we approve my language in section 303.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Yeah, I.
One abstention.
All right, 304. You know what, you should make this a little bigger.
Yes.
Yes. And just for the record, Linda and Dick also joined us. They are.
All right, 304, organization and rules. Shall be council is a continuing body, but it will have a meeting in January of each year for the purpose of electing, allowing newly elected council members to take an oath of office, adopt rules that do not conflict with this charter. The rules would go into immediate effect unless they establish a later date. And the rules shall provide for number, composition, manner, blah, 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 of committees. This one, I will admit, is largely copy pasted from a couple of other charters.
Okay. You have but, why couldn't it be and? The council shall be a continuing body and shall meet at the first meeting in January for the purpose of organization.
Gonna be blunt, that's a copy paste. So someone
Someone
somewhere
else.
else drafted it that way, and I didn't see a strong reason to change the language, but I don't really have.
It sounded like somehow that meeting
Yeah, it's an
was,
exception.
yeah, was. different
It's
than
probably
meeting.
an exception to whatever continuing body means as a term of art.
Oh,
Right, because you are forming a new council. at
Yes, that is the reason for it.
that- Right, at that January meeting, it's a new council, even though the body as a whole continues in perpetuity, it's, just like you have the 576th Congress, right? It's always been the US Congress, but every year it's a new Congress.
Right.
Anybody have any questions or concerns about anything in 304?
No.
I move that we approve my language in section 304.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same? Okay.
All right, this one, I did not copy paste. This one I wrote, so I kind of want everybody to look at it.
Offices. So during its organizational meeting held pursuant to section 304A, each unit council shall choose by a vote of 4 council members, one of its members as the president of the council. Subsection, the president of council shall also serve as the president pro tem or whatever, temp who shall serve as the mayor during the temporary absence or disability of the mayor.
And then the next one is kind of the same thing, just it's saying, and we will do the same thing, but for a vice president.
I had a question. Could you say by a vote of 4 council members, but everywhere else in the charter as far as says majority? So I don't know, for instance, since you say we want to do majority. or
Yeah.
not, I don't know.
Isn't that a general language thing we'll be doing in the next draft in the legislative procedures?
So the reason I stuck, because this one I did kind of read, I had read that in another charter and it stuck with me and I realized, so the reason I wrote it this way is choosing the president of council, and for that matter, the vice president is probably a little more important than most of the other stuff that they do. So if you just say majority and 2 people are absent that day, it may not be a great idea for them to be choosing a president that day,
Right.
kind of thing. But yeah,
Well, what I was going to say is the memo for the legislative procedure.
what I had not read.
Definitely made the point of saying it's considered better to give a number of votes necessary than majority or percent majority for exactly that reason.
Okay.
If you're short on people that night, right, if only 5 will show up as a quorum, and then you say a majority, then you only need 3. Is that as effective
But
as?
that's 3 of 7, and that's
Not
not
not a
correct.
majority of the body, and so that's why, yeah, so I would prefer 4 in that.
That's fine. I just wondered if we should use something like that going forward for other.
We probably,
Yeah, because they recommended this.
I don't
But I
have,
think
I have no.
I don't.
I think at some point, if we want to use majority, we'll still say it's the majority of all council members. So even if
I like that.
there's only X number there, the majority means majority of all council members. So, which is interesting, because then if you have a vacancy, there is nothing that says that changes.
So you're saying
So saying the number is probably really good.
Also,
Yeah.
as this percolates in everybody's brains over the next several weeks, it's not like this isn't Microsoft. I mean, I can go back and change it, if we change our minds.
We should be, the only thing we should be careful about is putting a number on, like, the way they can fill vacancies. Say if you could filibuster basically by 4 people resigning simultaneously.
Which is a
Then
thing.
then they couldn't do business.
So,
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, just-
so
Yeah, just like,
it is important.
looking like that.
Bring it back.
I guess my question then is, do we want to go ahead and approve this language as it is? And then obviously, if we decide that we want to change vote of 4 to majority of count, like later, we can always come back and easy to change. Okay, I move that we approve my language in section 305.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
All right, clerk of council, I pretty much copy pasted this from one of the other charters. The only thing I did was change some formatting to make it cleaner. Does anyone need me to read it out loud?
I asked that question and somebody answered it.
Do we have a clerk now?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah.
That sounds like they're hiring a person.
Well, whether they can do it,
So, point,
Okay, so let's read it. So council shall appoint by majority vote of its members, a person to serve as clerk of council. So it's appointment.
They can appoint somebody
And it
who's
can be-
already an employee.
Yeah,
As clerk of I mean, we have a clerk.
We do.
We do. It's an official position. No, it's Kim who's clerk of council.
we
Yeah, she
absolutely,
splits.
but I guess just to make it clear to everybody, this is copy pasted from the other charters that Paul sent us as a sample.
It's,
Clerk, we can do whatever we want with clerk. We can make it be a hired position, we can make it be an elected position. Yeah, no, I'm just saying,
Right.
we aren't shoehorned into doing
it's saying
it
of
this
the
way.
position, of the people you have around, who are they appointing as clerk? Who's gonna give that? Like, right now, we have the financial director,
Correct.
and
Because she's,
we have appointed her as
She's-
clerk.
correct. She's a full-time, I think one of the only full-time employees up to a point with the village. So it made sense to make her the clerk of council as well. But Becky is also a full-time clerk. She does, zoning as well as assist Kim and does other clerk items.
I'm
So,
careful here because it makes a really different.
It's that.
Is the clerk serving for the council?
Yes, they serve the function of the council, may be suspended or removed. Sorry, I thought that was an answer question.
So as I did the copy and paste, something that stuck out to me that I wasn't sure I was completely comfortable with is this, section here saying that they are under the general supervision of the village administrator. Is that how we want it to work?
It says offices of the council and general supervision.
Well, okay, so if we don't hamstring the village by telling them that they have to hire or have a specific clerk that's only the clerk of council, then, so chances are, unless something happens and we need a full-time, all the time, only thing they do is be the clerk of council, chances are that person is going to have another position within the village, and they're gonna have to be supervised by the village administrator.
So,
Yeah, that's what
so again,
that's.
this language doesn't create a job.
Right.
This
Right.
language satisfies what is basically a requirement for government to run. This person does the council's paperwork.
Right.
That's what this is, and it's saying that the council has the right or the authority to approve or appoint who that person is, and if they don't do a good job, council can say, no, that person can't do it for us anymore.
Right.
That's all this is really saying.
But how's that different than now?
It's
No,
not.
it's not.
Hold
No,
on,
that's
hold on.
exactly
Who's the
what-
clerk report to now?
The mayor.
of course, the mayor.
Okay, so that's what's different about this, really. Am I reading that right?
Well, I think they
I'm-
would go
Who's hiring the clerk now?
council, but they would have.
So if you
Supervisor.
switch from this current situation to this future situation, the clerk would then really report to the council as a body. Or the administrator.
Well, I think Eric might be able to clarify something.
So just to help out, and I would recommend a reading of Pataska's charter, what not to do here, okay? Pataska has similar language, and for example, it was kind of a hot mess. That's how they organize everything. So their clerk was also made separate and under the jurisdiction of the council in that case, right? And then you had a mayor and an administrator who had their own things to supervise. And so in that scenario, the clerk, sweet woman, did not have to do anything anyone else told her except the council, and they loved her, and she would just, do her thing but wouldn't respond to requests. And it made for a problematic situation. So I would just say, be careful here. And I would say a nice linear hierarchy of some type would be good.
It's not a full-time job, or even a part-time.
That's what happened in any position we had.
But back to how it is today, council, I'm sure today, could say that they no longer wish the current clerk of council to clerk for them anymore and appoint somebody else. It just so happens that it's really convenient for the fiscal officer to also serve that role. And the fiscal officer does a dang good job, and that is who currently does.
Well, that's why I'm worried about the commingling of duties and stuff. It's more complex to me right now because of the current situation.
Well,
I agree.
so as a
Because look, I copy pasted, and I'll be honest, section D of me, but I didn't want to try to write something on my own.
I get what you're saying, Paul, but now I'm playing the role that you usually play. And that is,
Play a certain role.
if we have a clerk of council designated strictly as clerk of council, reporting to the clerk of council, taking their orders from, being hired or fired by, then that's potentially, it's more money because we're still gonna have to have somebody else doing the other things that the current person, you see what I'm saying?
I'm not really opposed or not opposed, I'm just pointing out the fact that when someone pointed out that the clerk, I think Brian said the clerk of council does other things, or they have other duties. And this is very specific to clerk of council. I'm just like, and they report really now to the mayor, it sounded like this was more of a council, maybe reporting to the administrator.
So,
It just seemed like it was a little more complex than.
It is different, I just worry that, I worry about the money and then hamstringing council if they don't want to pay and they already have the fiscal officer doing it, and the fiscal officer should not be hired or fired, they shouldn't have their reviews done by the council necessarily, in my opinion.
I think what we're talking about is the duties.
The duties.
The duties of a clerk. There is.
What's this all about here?
there's language here about.
And it's the duties because
Right.
they wouldn't get rid of the person. They might say that they no longer want that person to perform the duties of the clerk.
So,
So they would then have to find someone else that we already have staff to do it.
well, and where do they find the person? I mean, it doesn't have to
It's
be
more,
us.
it's just this little constellation of duties.
I was just more worried,
It's a shame,
I was just
I'm on
worried,
parentheses in here and say, you can never let Kim get away, she has to stay here forever.
I second that motion.
Yeah, I'm telling
So have Kim, buy Kim house in the building.
you.
So I have a question, and I'm gonna call on me because I can't. So, the clerk of council shall be subject to the control of the officers of the council and the general supervision of the city administrator. So the way I'm reading that is, obviously, it's the clerk of council.
Work on, let's not,
Just giving this one.
yeah, we're not gonna be, I wanna do some more work on 306 anyway. I guess what I will say is I'm gonna end up sending Paul an email about this section, so if you have questions, send them to me, and I can compile them together into a coherent email that goes out to Paul.
Okay, when do you want that by?
Sunday, Monday? We'll do it by Monday, and then I send the email out Monday.
Oh, so Sunday night is our deadline, and you'll send email Monday?
Perfect.
Can I go for all sections, not just?
Yeah.
Hey, Evan, in the notes, can you put down section, keep track of sections that we are not approving and you send questions to kind of the section?
Good.
I just want to talk
If I had been doing up to this point, I could have been doing that, but I will start doing now.
to you. I'll do it now, so during section.
Thank you.
So Kelly, you're gonna do is select all and find and replace city to village, okay,
Mm-hmm.
for the whole document.
I'll be revising this thing so many dozens of times.
I'm sure.
All right, moving on to removal, resignation, and forfeiture. Some of the other charter sections didn't name it very well, and so I fixed it. I put so A is something I wrote. I don't know if we want to do that or not.
You know
So-
what, I'm gonna say this, we're just gonna go through these, let's just read them.
Yep, a member of council may be, well, here's the thing, I feel it's important, no, really, Ray, I feel it's important to, because I'm drafting this whole document, right? I personally, from kind of an integrity standpoint, feel it's important to make sure everybody knows when I've copy pasted something that was already approved by another municipality versus when Kelly Parks wrote it.
Right, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I wrote section A, a member of council may be removed from their seat only upon a unanimous vote of the remaining members of council.
That should be 5.
Yeah, what do you
And,
mean?
I wasn't sure, I wrote it, so.
Well, and I think that where you were trying to go with that is if we end up where we've got 3 things already, you can't remove anybody else. And maybe you should be able to.
And that's kind of why I wrote it that way. I was like, look, if stuff has gone completely off the rails and a member of council needs to be removed, but it's for a reason that isn't necessarily in the laundry list that falls under forfeiture, you've got to have a mechanism, right, for those situations.
So if you're down to two, you can both remove the other.
Well, no, I think, I think, I mean, I'm sorry, there's two sections I can't see, but does it include items of malfeasance versus misfeasance?
It does not cover that.
It doesn't cover
So-
anything.
Okay, so
Well-
there could be a number of things for removal, and again, this is a very good discussion that your legal counsel should be present for, on what dictates.
What we can and cannot do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we should maybe.
so section A is something I'm gonna have to email Paul about.
Should we just wait and discuss this
Maybe
one
this
whole here, the whole section?
maybe for.
Because it's.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is a person that was voted into office and just can't, because they don't like her there, that, them.
Really don't like.
All right, so look, I don't think we can, look, I don't think we need to skip the entire section, guys. I wrote letter A and I wrote letter B. C, D, E, and F are copy pasted.
B looks great.
It's fine.
Yeah, B is something that some of the other charters don't, literally, it's not mentioned. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. We need to put in language, in writing, hey, you can't just resign by not showing up. You gotta, if you want to affirmatively resign, you should write a resignation. And then C on in this section is copy pasted.
Well, there might be reasons that you might.
Yeah, there,
That's
it's, look, removal of an elected officer is a touchy thing in the law, so Eric is absolutely right that we should be clearing section A through legal counsel.
Oh, no, I'm not just reading that, I was looking at the list of reasons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, in terms of forfeiture?
So your section A of removal, was that only? Because what I think was unclear is that just for items indicated in C? Right?
No.
Right, so.
A was kind of meant to be that catch-all of if something is going wrong and this person really needs to not be a councilman anymore, but for whatever reason, the reason doesn't fit in letter C.
Didn't we talk about like
Yes,
not showing up to
that's-
some of the meetings?
But that's a different.
That's covered.
Yeah.
Fail to attend 3 consecutive regular council meetings.
Yeah.
Look, I was trying to build a catch-all. If I get told by Paul that you just can't do that, then obviously it'll get deleted.
That's my.
So, scroll down.
On looks fine by.
Yeah, like I said, copy pasted. Basically, it's, here are the reasons that constitute grounds for forfeiting your seat. And then here's what happens to actually carry out removing you from the seat. Council gets to be the judge. They can engage in basically a hearing where evidence can be submitted. That hearing has to be public, there has to be notice, and then council makes the final determination by motion.
I have a question. If, the comment about missing 3 meetings, hey, no matter what, somebody has a heart attack.
Three consecutive regular council meetings and.
Was that-
Without-
Without being
Without
excused,
being
and that's not an automatic, it's just, that is a ground upon which council can say, this is the justification we are using to have a vote on removing. So it's not like, oh, I missed 3, I might as well not show up anymore.
And I'm sure if someone missed 3 because they had a heart attack,
Yeah.
Council would not initiate that vote.
are going to excuse that.
You're right.
The fact that I wrote it as the office shall be forfeited upon the determination of the member has failed to attend 3 consecutive regular council meetings without being excused by council. So council has to actively excuse it, otherwise
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
the
what?
box gets checked.
It's because it's shall or instead of can.
She's saying under D, you use the
Or
word
C,
shall.
C.
C, oh, okay.
The office of a member of council shall be forfeited instead of can be forfeited.
I guess we could change shall to may in this one case.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
No, I think that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think shall's okay, I think it's that last one where you're saying it's up to the discretion, like, shall remove the discretion.
I'll be honest, now that I'm looking at it, I think the word should be may there. The office of a member of council may be forfeited upon a determination that the member, blah, 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 blah. And then here's the procedure for doing it.
I mean, even with me, you could, at this point, if you had a heart attack, and at this point, it is at the discretion of the council. They could say, yes, you're out. You missed 3, and we're not excusing you.
Mhm.
So, but that could happen. I mean, there's no way around that.
So I think what I'd like to do,
So I have one more question. On the final, the vote, it doesn't say, the motion to regard the office of the council as forfeited, members of, but it doesn't say vote of how many or what kind of majority.
so this was copy pasted. My suspicion is that the other charter that I pulled it from just kind of meant it to be as a majority vote.
Do we want to,
We can probably, I have no problem specifying.
is that what we want?
Everywhere else.
Well, I'm just saying, should it be a specific number? Should it be 4? Should it be?
No, because then if you're missing somebody, you can't do
Sometimes.
that.
Even when it's out, it should really be either 4 or a majority of all members of council,
I like the majority of that one.
of all members of council, not just those that show up.
Why not
unanimous on that?
Because it would never be unanimous. The person who's subject to forfeiture gets the vote. They would always say, no.
I had somewhere you said, and I said, well, it'll never be unanimous, because who's gonna vote to remove himself?
So how do we want to word this? Or do you want me to work on it and come back to you guys?
Motion.
This is the section that is being questioned.
Or we
Thank
can
you
just,
for your attention, sir.
I can just like clear that all motions as, you know, because motions are a little less onerous than ordinance or resolution, right? That
Mhm.
maybe when we get to motions in legislative procedure, we indicate that motions are always passed in a certain manner.
Actually, yes, and where we would want to change it is actually down here, upon passage of the motion by supermajority, majority. Majority vote of the whole council.
I think, like Brian said, when we talk about motions and majorities, we're talking about the majority of all members of council. Or,
Well, it's not very.
If we don't spell that out,
Right, let's not leave that there.
let's not leave anything vague that we don't have to leave vague.
Kelly, can you say that once somewhere as a defined term?
Yeah.
Have it throughout?
There's no reason at all that we couldn't, farther down in like, sorry. Probably general provisions, we can just state that wherever you see the term majority vote, it means majority of the whole council.
I think that's gonna be covered in my next session.
Probably. All right.
So that overall section, we're still gonna leave for approval on another day, because we have questions to ask. Legal counsel, correct?
Well,
For
I think what I would like to say is I think we can approve C through F.
I
You wanna hold off on the whole section
want to approve the section.
at the section level? Okay. All right.
Otherwise, it's gonna be too messy.
Moving on then to 308 vacancies. So once someone is out, either by resigning or forfeiting, I copy pasted this. The only thing I changed, I want to make sure I did it right. Yeah, it was 60. I did 60 days then. And I need to. Forgot to do that.
So here's a question, what happens if they die? If they can't write a letter resigning?
Then they have
They're not the
forfeited their office.
They can't run for 3 meetings though.
Yeah.
Is it the mayor who appoints or the administrator?
The first 60 days is council, and then after that it's
Yeah.
mayor. The elected mayor.
But, I mean, along the same lines as what you're thinking, Eddie, so the office, has it ever happened that
Oh, I'm sure.
nobody got elected?
Well, we can make it real easy upon members' death, resignation, or forfeiture.
There you go.
Fix that real quick.
When the runs for a regular election for an office position. Like, is that covered here?
Oh, that's the question.
That's the question.
So did you catch that?
Sorry, no, I
My
didn't.
question is, what if we have 4 seats open and 3 people?
What happens to that vacancy?
I think it's 60 days. I think in that case, it would have to follow these same procedures.
Well, I think
Four
so,
seats
it's not
open
covered
and
under,
3 people. Oh,
it's not covered.
then,
I disagree. I think that the statement of vacancy of council shall be filled by a majority vote of the remaining council members.
Well, and that's fine, that's back up to A. Office of council shall become vacant upon members' resignation, so why are we calling out what resignation?
You know,
If we're gonna call out what makes it vacant, then we're buying ourselves into,
oh yeah, letter A can actually be eliminated if it is redundant.
Eric,
Just in those odd situations where you may, for whatever reason, find you may not be able to maintain a quorum and therefore not have a voting number, I think the mayor, can be stated the mayor can appoint in kind of an emergency situation like that. And again, this is a legal counsel question, but I think you have leeway to do something. But otherwise, how will you ever get to a quorum to have official business?
I mean, I think that's covered.
Or you,
yeah.
or there's an emergency
I think
election.
we covered that, we give them 60 days, because you know, what's the
Yes.
mayor's, so,
Yeah.
Unless you just don't want to do business for 60 days. See,
that's
that's-
like,
Wow.
some people should agree in 60 days.
But again, not if you don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
You have to have a quorum.
Right, and I,
To
if
do
you use
business.
3 out, if you use 4 out of 7, as you're saying.
Yeah,
60
that's a
days,
problem.
It cannot be done.
No.
It's actually, I feel, not a problem. If there's that much of a problem on council, then we have far bigger
Yeah, we
problems.
shouldn't, yeah, if you're down to
So-
2 members of council left, you shouldn't be conducting regular
You
business
shouldn't be
anyway.
conducting business and then people have to decide whether they want to become a part of London Township.
All right, as it's currently written, does anyone have any issues with anything in 308?
What did you change in so far? I can't see.
The only thing that I've actually changed is this. I forgot to put the numerals in.
Okay.
So I move that we approve section 308.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approved.
You know what, Rainey, mark me down as abstaining on all of these votes, because as the drafter, I'm not gonna.
You're also doing motions.
You're right. Okay, I vote yes on every vote.
Well, are you commenting, they should be approved.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to.
No, you're trying to confuse
I mean,
yourself.
we all agree that we love the idea of you writing.
All right, 309, council meetings. I, copy pasted, I think, all of this. All right. I actually had a question as I was copying it. Is it normal, in the context of mayor not being on council anymore, is it normal for the mayor to be able to call a council meeting? And I don't know the answer to that.
I would imagine that if there is some piece of business that needs to be, village business that needs to be conducted, the mayor would need to call a council meeting
Okay.
And I think that should be 4 members of council, right? If we have a 7-person body.
Where are you looking? Oh,
Underneath, right underneath, any 3 members of the council.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot you touch screen.
Yeah. I was like, what happened?
Because otherwise it's not a quorum, and what's the sense of having a special council meeting if you don't have a quorum asking?
So, I need to change this to have it.
So this sounds like, the council can just determine by a majority vote the frequency dates, et cetera. I think that this is in the rules of council. So they approve the rules of council, before the beginning of the year, and that really sets it down so that they just can't, by majority vote, decide, oh, we're now gonna start meeting on Thursdays. And it'll be every third Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff at the charter level is, look, we want to give council a lot of leeway in how they conduct their own business, but we have to have some stuff in here to keep them honest, kind of thing.
They have to use this once a month.
So that shall, but it, just somewhere it should be, that this will be in council, and they write council rules.
Well,
And
yes,
that's
the
what we-
rules have to not conflict with this.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
They-
just the rule.
They
Right.
can vote that they meet once a week, but they can't vote that they meet less than 11 times a year.
And when they pass their council rules, provided that's
Yes.
where they do this, it will satisfy this requirement.
Right.
Yeah.
It will
It's
have-
not independent, this is not independent of the rules.
No,
It is
this
also-
supersedes the rules.
So what this.
No,
Yes.
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 So
They
here-
can add other rules,
But they can't do it.
but they cannot supersede the charter as it applies especially to the
Right.
council.
So when council votes for its rules in January of every year, they can vote to meet, that there will be a regular meeting every Monday for the entire year.
Right.
They cannot vote, there will be only one regular meeting this year, because that would violate
but
309A.
according to this, they could in February say, we're not gonna do it on Monday, we're not gonna do it on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
And then in March,
absolutely.
but they have to change council rules.
Right, and that's not, yeah.
That's
They would have
fine.
to change it.
Okay,
They can change council rules
right,
anytime.
it just
They
seems to me
just
that,
can't, there are just certain things that they will not be able to change the rules to do, such as meeting less than 11 times.
I'm
per year.
I'm okay with that. It's
More
just
okay.
that by majority vote, now they can just change the frequency, the dates, and the times.
More importantly, what this isn't saying is, this isn't the mayor will determine
Yeah.
when those meetings are, or the village administrator will set when those meetings are. It is council. So this is a power of when council will meet is being given to council.
I guess I just want the council shall determine in council rules, but
But they don't do it as part of the council rules. Why are
Yeah,
they
that's the
telling
thing.
them? Why are they
okay,
need to put it in the
no,
council
it's
rules?
cool, it's
They
cool.
don't
I'm
do
just
it.
saying it as being really vague and really flexible, and anytime they want, they can change, they can.
It is,
majority.
and that's fine, we're giving them that power.
We're giving them a ton of leeway with certain exceptions. There's a laundry list of things that we're saying,
And
no,
then we
you
have to
don't
post
get
it.
to have this leeway.
So I mean, that's essential, they can be more, we want.
No, it's not
Because-
more, it's
For
just
instance, yeah,
changing.
so for another example, 309B is basically saying, if council really doesn't like the person who the mayor is, they can make a rule of council that the mayor may never call council meetings, because that would violate 309B.
I'm wondering what the consequence would be if a month went by and there wasn't a meeting.
Well,
What would the consequence be, and who would deliver the consequence?
One less day for people to argue about things.
no,
Very funny.
I think she means, okay, so we said they have to meet 11 times a year,
Yeah.
now we've got 10 in 2019. So what? Who, how,
I think they would meet and then say they can't have a meeting because there aren't enough members or something.
well, but she's more about deliberate meetings, is there any rule, what's the consequence of not following the charter?
Someone sues.
Yeah, if someone sues.
At the end of the day, that's what happens whenever the government violates its own rules, someone has to sue.
And there could be a referendum and then.
Yes,
Yeah.
well said.
Okay.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that, yes.
My suspicion also is that at some point in the next 2 or 3 months, we're gonna be getting a memo from Paul on, things like dereliction of duty and things like that. And so if it's on a public record that council has said, you know what, screw the charter, we're not meeting, that would probably qualify as dereliction of duty or whatever and be grounds for removal. Or referendum. So,
So special meetings can be called for any purpose by the mayor or any 3 members of council. We changed that 3 to 4.
yes,
Okay, sorry. Got lost.
I'm also scrolling a lot, I apologize for that.
Upon at least 24 hours notice to the mayor and each member of the council, which notice may be served personally, left at the usual place of residence, or by electronic notification. So 24 hours notice to each person. I guess I feel like it's very vague. Hey, we're having a special meeting.
You gotta give a day's notice, and you have to actually give them notice that they're gonna see. You can't just put a Post-it note on the door of the village building.
All right, telephone calls, electronic notification.
I mean, we can add that in.
Somewhere else, in one of the ones last week, it did say something about a phone call or 2 phone calls or something. I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
So special meetings don't count as missing 3 council meetings.
No, it's not a regular council.
You know what?
Okay,
Here's what I don't like about
okay.
telephone call.
I might be able to.
I was gonna, oh, okay.
What I don't like about telephone call is I would have to write like 3 lines to make it not easy, an easy workaround, because look, if you've got a member of council that you don't like, and all you have to do is give them a phone call, you can call them, let it ring once, hang up and say, well, I called.
Block the number.
Or it's like, there's
Yeah,
so
I
many
talked
games
to
you can play, and the only way to combat those games is for me to write a page worth of crap. I think we just keep it simple
So
and
we say it has to be a written notice.
written notice,
Don't say written notice.
It seems like that this is a time when you might need to, so you're saying at least 24 hours. But, you're gonna have to post it, first of all. And oftentimes, in reality, they do make telephone calls to find out, can you make a special meeting, on this date, or, you know,
I don't think for kids.
What do they do now here?
They do it now.
and let that be electronic notification.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would fall under electronic.
It would, if we needed to call a special meeting, there would be a mass email. We all get it, at least by the end of the day. If something needed to happen quicker, there'd probably be phone calls. But there'd probably also be an email first.
It works.
Has council ever called a meeting within 24 hours?
Not in my time, which is not that long.
Yes.
So in the last
Yeah,
15 minutes.
so.
I think even since Jen and I have been here, emergency council meetings have been called.
I just feel like 24 hours is a quick turnaround. But
I think it's awfully short.
I feel like-
Well, if we get to the point of the notices have to be posted till 24 hours, you're gonna have to start working before 24 hours. Is it 4
Yeah.
hours?
They don't like to do it, I'm sorry to interrupt, they don't like to do it, but there are cases, my memory to be here, there has been a couple times they've had to do it. Could be a personnel issue, it could be a number of things that go on. There could be a legitimate reason for doing that, and they post, so they do start working on it, they get it posted 24 hours ahead of time. Usually 36, if they do it during business, so for the next day, so, you know.
And it
it's-
does have the word at least,
Yeah.
the words at least,
Yes.
at least 24 hours.
And, you know, electronic notification, that's also a phone call. Sorry, that's a phone call.
So should we
I
say
think it's-
it's written?
I've added the word written, 24 hours written notice to the mayor and each member of the council.
Am I the only one that hates 24?
No, I mean,
36?
It just doesn't bother me.
36 is fine enough.
How does everybody else feel about that?
36.
I think,
why can't
It was
we,
36.
why can't we write this in, the negative instead of the positive? You can call an emergency meeting. However you get a hold of people is your business. You can't take longer than X amount of time to get this done.
Oh, but you could take a long time.
Not if the charter says that you can't.
Well, not if it's emergency.
Well, is there a separate category? No, so this is special meetings.
Right.
Not emergency meetings.
This is
So
special
you
meeting.
could, you could schedule a special meeting 3 weeks from now. Because it's a meeting that we are planning that is not on the regularly scheduled meeting. That's all a special meeting is.
Yeah,
So
you're
it
right.
doesn't have to be that we need a meeting now. It's, we need a meeting outside of our regular meetings. That's all that is what this really is. Now, it also has to cover when we need a meeting now. And I think,
And also keep in mind that the whole reason this is in the charter in the first place is so that a council cannot, by a simple majority vote, outlaw special meetings, right? Special meetings are a thing that is important to have that flexibility to have.
So then let's give them 36 hours in which to do it.
so,
I'm just thinking about, I want council, I know, 24 hours, that's not.
but this isn't 24, this
That's
isn't
it.
24 hours to the police. This is 24 hours to the other council members. And, okay, so, and if business needs to get done, I personally feel that those 12 hours that you are trying to extend could be problematic.
Okay, this is at least 24 hours.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they can't do it within 12 hours. It's at least 24 hours.
No, it does mean they can't do it
Exactly.
12 hours.
Right, you have to give at least 24 hours notice.
I can't, so they can't call a special meeting.
Oh, at least 24 hours.
Right, so you can't meet sooner, so if this was council, we said, okay, we need a special meeting tomorrow, we can't meet before 7:45 tomorrow.
There are, look, obviously this village doesn't have any nuclear codes, but there are real issues for which 24 hours could make or break something. We're talking about sandblasting and completely repainting the pool right now. We are operating on a very tight schedule to get it done before it opens. If they call us and they say that you have 24 hours to get us money, or the pool doesn't open, then we're gonna have a special meeting in 24 hours, and a 36-hour window could be the difference between a pool opening and not, and that's just me grabbing something out of what's going on right now. That really could be a real issue.
So I'll try to ask it the other way, what do you think you gain out of those 12 hours?
Honestly, you gain the additional day to make the arrangements, to rearrange life things.
Are people worried about members of council or the mayor being cut out for nefarious purposes of a special meeting happening?
I'm worried about all of it. I'm worried about people legitimately not being able to get a hold of people and people not knowing. I'm worried about people excluding people for nefarious reasons. I'm worried about the whole thing. But I also, I totally see where Matt and Brian are right, that they actually may need to do this within 24 hours.
So we could fix it in B1, in the event the mayor or any board members of the council determine an emergency exists.
24 hours additional.
So you can do it sooner. We can change that to 36 or 72 or 100 million. I don't.
Yeah, just declare it an emergency and then you can do it.
I don't know, there is this thing about public notice and sunshine laws, so there's
So
gotta
this
be.
is- But this clause is specifically for, there is a sewer main break, and we are past our 2 allotted repairs from, or not, sort of a water line break, and we're past our 2 allotted repairs from the city of Columbus. So we know this is gonna be money we have to spend, and council's gonna need to appropriate those funds in a matter of hours.
That's an
That's an
emergency.
That's an emergency, right,
That's
that is, in the event that blah, 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 an emergency exists, that is
And I have no problem with that.
B1.
I have no problem with BI, it's B by itself, it's not an emergency.
Yeah, but it's special meeting.
Well, but I have problems with calling anything an emergency and then, taking the public out of the equation by not having, there's gotta be a time when it has to be posted to the, public, and you can't have a meeting if it's not.
All right.
We can do B1 today.
Okay, wait. So we can actually
Yes.
extend for something that's not an emergency, we can extend the time.
And you get that
And we-
72.
That's right, and we could, for the type of situation that Brian just said, a water main break, and we're beyond our 2 repairs with the city of Columbus.
There's
We
appropriations
can-
in the budget for that. So
We
don't have to-
we can say that if this is something that, is, threatening the infrastructure,
Health, safety, and welfare.
health, safety, and welfare,
Safety and public health.
then all bets are off, do what you gotta do.
Safety and public health.
Right.
So
I mean it.
That's 390. I just wanted to change that from 24 hours.
So are we,
I don't.
24 is good, actually.
Oh my God, you were just at 36.
No, I don't want 12.
Oh, you don't want 12. You want 12.
well, it's certainly not gonna be 12, that would be.
6 and I want 6.
Well, wait a minute,
I want
24-hour notice shall not apply, so 12, 1 hour counts. Because the 24-hour
Because
notice.
that's in an emergency.
So, look, I'm
There's
just
two
trying
categories we're talking about, special meetings.
I know.
Can we put some,
That is council wanting to meet in some.
And I'll go
other
along with
than
health,
regular
public
schedule.
welfare.
And in this is saying 24-hour notice. So council meets Monday night and says, we
Saw that.
need to meet again. You know, we have legislation we want to push through, but we don't want to waive readings. So we're gonna have a special council meeting tomorrow night for that 3rd reading. They have 24-hour notice, right? That is 24-hour notice.
We just need to maybe look at the sunshine laws and make sure, because I'm probably sure that a charter can't override.
All
sunshine
meetings
laws.
of the
No, no,
council
give me public
and of other
notice.
boards
Yeah.
and commissions,
Give
the
me
city
public-
shall
give me
be
public
held in
notice.
As long as it's
general laws of
Yes.
Ohio pertaining to requirements for open meetings and public bodies. That's key. We just have to make it clear.
I have no problem with 24 hours if we put in a reasonable declaration of what an emergency is. That if somebody can't say, I've got an emergency, let's have a
Well,
meeting.
that's two separate things. The two separate things is what Brian was trying to say. There's special meetings that are non-emergency and then emergency meetings. 24 hours for a special meeting that's non-emergency, is that acceptable?
Yes.
Who determines whether it's emergency or
What,
special?
don't go there. I don't
Stand back up.
Because that's the situation for every day. If it's declared by everybody that it's not.
And it's still gonna have to be
Special
posted,
meeting.
it's still gonna have to be posted.
It's
So-
24, okay.
And it can be
So with
posted.
24,
24
I threw,
is good.
I threw the lovely little phrase in B1.
Okay, and then,
And now, so to answer your question, who decides if it's for the health, safety, and welfare of the village? 4 council people or the mayor, that's who decides.
can you,
So
can you read that?
can do that?
Can you read it out loud for the.
Which,
I guess that would be a thing that we could.
I mean, I'm just thinking, I mean, what is this?
in the event the mayor or
I didn't see
any,
anything like
Oh,
this.
hold on.
Good point. Forgot we had one.
in the event the mayor or any 4 members of the council determine an emergency exists affecting the health, safety, or welfare of the village, the 24-hour notice shall not apply.
Except for the whole question.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the manager of the, I mean, if you're the manager of the city, you can't declare, or at least be part of it.
Yeah, that does
What if I had to determine
We already had some.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just want to say, the mayor will designate the administrator, right, the authority. If you write it this way, and it's a lot, you'll read other charters that have that handled, right? So that way, if the mayor's out on vacation, the administrator has to call, and there's a legitimate emergency, that can happen, right? But left for another discussion. Yes.
The mayor or
In
the
writing?
mayor's designee.
I like it.
I don't know, I don't think.
I kind of want it to be in writing. I don't want them to just get on the phone with each other and say, yep, there's an emergency.
Yeah,
I heard this was a real emergency, because there's a sewer main break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I.
I'm not sure if we have time for all this.
I mean, if that's as easy as an email, then that's fine.
It is,
Yeah.
writing,
Yes.
emails are read.
Yeah, good.
At least I hope so. Those professions in trouble.
So what did you change?
In the event the mayor or any 4 members of the council determine in writing an emergency exists affecting the health, safety, or welfare of the village, the 24-hour notice shall not apply.
Sounds good.
Do they have to determine it for fact, or do they just feel, or something like that?
I mean, that's what determines.
Okay.
They believe.
I'm making it complicated, sorry, I'm sorry.
Members of the council and the mayor who attend special meetings of the council or who are present, and other regular special, so this is basically saying, if you're at a meeting when the special meeting is announced, you don't need to receive the written notice. You may waive notice either prior or subsequent to the meeting, so if the if the special meeting is called, you didn't get notice properly, but you show up anyway because Brian told you it was happening, you can waive the notice requirement so that the meeting can still happen. And then they can be canceled beforehand by whomever initially called for such special meeting. That was another copy paste. I don't particularly have a problem with it, but I can see people having an issue with it. Special meetings may be canceled beforehand by whomever initially called for such special meetings.
No, I didn't touch.
Oh,
Did anyone have any concerns about that one?
So throw a crazy idea out there. B1, right, since emergencies are a touchy subject, we could require another meeting post fact, like a public hearing, to explain that emergency, right? So if there's a special meeting held in under 24 hours public notice, right?
Express my outrage.
We could, here's our opportunity to say, you've done this, now you are required within 30 days to hold a public hearing to explain the emergency.
I don't think it's my comment either.
Wouldn't it be in the council notes and that?
Or not.
But this is just basically, yes, it could be a regular council meeting or not, this has to be an official, here's what was the emergency, here's what was done to remediate the emergency, official accountability of
I
this.
think Brian's speaking from a Pam's concern, right?
Well, but if, as long as all public notices are done in accordance with the sunshine laws, then I think there just cannot be any meeting ever that isn't public.
I don't like that, only because nobody likes the whole emergency for just to get something through. It's not a-
Right.
Nobody likes that.
No one likes
Nobody
that.
likes that.
No, we check.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
But I just, what we're offering from Pam is I want them to actually explain the emergency, because they have to justify the emergency later, they say, our bad, it wasn't an emergency, but they have to justify.
I think the posting has to identify what the meeting is if it's a special meeting.
That's not.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've got an expectation that isn't quite right. If 4 members of council or the mayor determine that an emergency meeting is necessary 2 hours from now, they can do that. There will not be posting on that
As
door.
long as sunshine laws and
Oh,
state of
yeah,
Ohio allow
The
that.
sunshine laws will be fine, because they'll take minutes and they'll publish and post minutes and all that stuff. So sunshine laws
What if
will
they,
be.
no, what if they have a special emergency meeting, go into executive session, immediately there will be no minutes.
They have to follow sunshine laws. Executive sessions are very specific as to how. they
I
can
know,
do it. So
but,
just-
but,
But there
They
will be.
can't vote. They can't vote in the executive session.
Right.
They have to
And
vote in
there
public
would
session.
be a meeting minute that says, these people met at this time.
and
At this time, they adjourned to executive session for these reasons. They disadjourned
Give up now?
from
No,
executive session. And
I'm
that's
just
what, and that's
I'm
what,
like,
but I am trying to throw out there an idea that, to force a public hearing to, to
Explain
post-mortem the emergency.
It would make them think twice about doing something that.
Because even if they executive session or whatever, they're going to have to explain why they called emergency meeting later. Here was the emergency, here were the actions taken.
I personally like that.
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I'm not
okay
gonna
with it.
stand in the way of that.
Can
I
you
just-
give me, for purposes of keeping this
And you're
one?
doing, it's better to ask
I'm gonna
forgiveness than to get permission.
add language
They wouldn't be asking for
making
anything.
them-
It's the idea that, like, yes, we had those ones. Letting you know, here's what I.
May I suggest at the next regularly scheduled council meeting?
I want to make it more than.
No, I think that they could have a special meeting to explain it. I don't think it has to be a regular discussion.
In my
It doesn't have to
experience, emergencies have always been explained as it's an emergency. We
Yes.
decided.
And I really don't like that.
And so if you don't force a special meeting, like, I think someone would feel really silly going to come to the building, you know, on a special time and date to stand in front of people and say, yeah, we just decided it was an emergency because it had to get done. I think I would hope that that takes a level of stones that you might
I don't care if it's a special meeting or a regular meeting, but I just want to.
Didn't we try to do that?
Oh,
When
yeah,
you tried to push the
and-
building through?
Except I explained exactly why I was doing it, not just because I thought it was an emergency. I had clear explanations.
So,
Yes, but
language,
you did have the stones to do it.
Well,
add
And it
language,
wasn't
making
an
them
emergency.
explain themselves. I don't care if they do it at a regularly scheduled or a special meeting, I just want them to have to specifically address the emergency.
They're always the anti-Brian special.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it so that you can't have another jerk like me.
Brian couldn't have done that with this law because it's not, the building wasn't like a threat to our health, safety, or welfare.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that building special meeting under this provision.
You don't, you don't.
Oh, you can.
Oh,
You get this,
You don't, but then you have to
You could
explain
correct-
yourself.
You absolutely can. If we want to examine it through that scenario, the safety and welfare both come into play.
All right.
But you've got to just
Let me suggest that you guys give me a week to come up with some language and we'll come back to this section.
Because I.
Because we have a lot to go through and it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we're
Well,
not.
well,
Well,
I'm gonna suggest something at the end of this meeting about that, because I'm realizing hardly any of the articles are gonna be significantly shorter than this. I think we might be on a 2-week rotation for each article.
for a 2-week rotation.
I mean, meeting 1 is what we did last week. The next week we fix the revisions, and then the following week we get to go to the next article. I don't know
We
how
have
to
enough weeks.
short of starting to do this twice a week, which I'm real not a big fan of.
how many weeks
We
do we
don't have
have
weeks.
left? We don't have that many
How
weeks
many
left.
articles are we talking
There's 9
about?
articles left.
And this has to
And we
be
don't
done
have
by June.
So let's finish this,
18
and then
minutes.
let's figure out how we want to handle this.
We don't,
Yeah,
we do
we're,
not have.
we may have to do work sessions or something, because here's the thing,
Well, let's
this
finish
is not
this.
wasted conversation.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
We gotta get through
And I
this.
want to finish it before we get into that.
Yeah, okay,
Let's finish this. We're so close.
I'm gonna move on to 310 then.
As you're
Salary.
doing your research, section 33.06, notice requirements of the sunshine laws do have down who you do need to call. And it does say that the statute provides the violation of this notice requirements will invalidate actions of the public body. So if you, 33.06, notice requirements.
I should have
And
paid
so,
more attention.
but I think that you actually, it will be, there are that many people that have to be notified when it's an emergency.
All right, salary of elected officials,
The salaries of all elected officials in the city or in the village shall be established by council by ordinance or resolution. Council shall only consider ordinances or resolutions affecting the salary of elected officials on council election years. Underneath that, we have the salaries so established shall not be changed to be effective during the current term of office. Ordinances and resolutions affecting the salary of elected officials shall become effective on the first day of January of the year after the ordinance or resolution is passed.
do we need to say anything about benefits as well? No legal benefits?
Oh, yes,
Our council.
The council.
by the way, this is, I believe, not copy pasted. This was me trying to write what you guys
What we
instructed
have
me.
already argued about last time.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I don't know, is the council voting for somebody that could potentially have benefits? Is that the question?
No, that it should be affecting the salary.
And it should be after.
No, it should be, I actually just looked this up, that was one of my mistakes. It's weird.
What?
What's weird?
Affecting actually deals with emotions.
No,
I literally looked this up.
Yeah, but it's also
It is, unless it's affecting.
Yeah.
Then it changes again.
This should be
it's
affecting.
having consequence.
Yes. It's an odd effect. It should be E.
You know what, that's not the thing I want us to focus on. It's really not. Let's do-
Different, and then the opposite.
Guys,
So
hey,
for,
guys, that's not the thing we're focusing on.
shall consider ordinances or resolutions affecting the salary of elected officials only on council election years, and haven't we determined that those had to be passed prior to prior to the filing date for candidates? Right, so that way somebody coming in.
I remember us talking about that, I guess I didn't think that, I didn't write it down, so I must not have thought that it had been something we agreed on.
If it's not, it was part of the conversation I recall, and I thought we had agreed on it. but
yeah, I thought we agreed on it.
Evan was the keeper.
Okay, look!
And actually it is in there, there is a final date statement
In these minutes?
in there. Pretty sure.
So,
So it's any year then,
It's every other year.
it's every other year,
So they only get a bite at the apple once every 2 years. And it goes into effect in January after. And the question that,
it's at the end, but because Soraya suggested that it be effective January, and then you wanted to restrict the council years, and then Deborah asked him if it was we should address benefits, and Paul said that we don't.
Yeah, Paul said that
So we don't need to worry about
we
benefits.
don't need to worry about that.
So we had.
So we didn't,
According to my notes, we didn't come to any sort of agreement.
Okay, so let's revisit it then.
Oh, God.
well, it's just quick, yes or no?
yeah, I was gonna say, now that we have writing to look at,
Do we care enough? Because, my thought is that it may affect somebody's decision to run or not. So better to have it resolved by that deadline, the final deadline for council candidates.
And I remember agreeing with you when you said that last week.
But I don't want it to take more than a minute and a half. Either we're good with it or there's reservations, we can just.
Is everyone good with that? And we're not concerned about that.
I guess I don't really understand the necessity for it.
So,
Don't care.
We've discussed it enough. We can move on.
No, I mean, it's, if the rest of us, does everybody not care? Does everybody think it's a good idea? Does everybody think it's not a good idea? That's very different. If 8
I'm
people
so
to take
tired of
care,
wondering.
then.
Oh, honey, I don't need to.
It's okay.
Let's leave
We're moving
it.
on. All right, leave it up. None of the people care, then speak up. Sorry.
I'll remember to deal with it the revision.
You will.
Keep your list of grievances.
But you
All right,
said
so
Got a long list already.
C, the defense council shall fail to establish salaries as required in this section. The salaries in effect for the prior term shall remain in effect until changed in accordance with this section.
what was the thing that Obet's, that he said, I wish we would have done X because we get screwed if we forget to give ourselves raises.
Giving them
Two-year interval.
giving themselves a raise.
Exactly.
Theirs was
We've done
But
exactly.
odd, but theirs was odd number of years.
Yes.
So it wasn't necessarily associated to an action of council, right? Like, I would think that it would be easier to remember, oh, we can give ourselves a raise because we're gonna have new members next year, right? That associates with another activity.
Well, I think that they're on because that's when I.
Yeah, and I still have reservations about that
It's fine.
being only in the years that like there's a regular election.
That's fine. So what's funny is it's not actually, it's not written as regular election, just a council election, right? And so any year you may be electing council people. So there's a recall meeting everybody at the Apple, if there's a seat, a
It just says elected
resignation.
officials.
I actually kind of am okay
Council
with that
election
because
years.
if you have a bunch of resignations and part of it is because they're not getting paid well enough, maybe that is something that can be fixed at that time.
I also, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was an interesting little backdoor.
And I know that I should probably be the one you guys are asking this question, but I'm gonna ask you guys. Is this an appropriate section to talk about a ceiling or a floor for percentages? Or should that be dealt with somewhere else or not at all? Do we not wanna touch percentages?
I thought we discussed percentages
I don't
last
remember.
week and we veered away from it because
I feel like we got distracted.
no idea what will happen in the future.
It could be something like inflation plus 1%.
I think
that was what he told us not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The gentleman from August was basically like, don't just do 2% because now we're woefully underpaid or something like that.
Give the council the flexibility to set their own raises, and if they go crazy with it, they'll be voted out, so.
Yeah, they will.
Okay, so we just leave it out and.
Yeah.
So I guess-
the section as is.
Yes, all right, I move that we approve the language in section 310.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
All right,
So
so,
that takes us to, we've either approved or abstained on all the sections in there. We owe any questions, comments, or feedback that you want to be in writing so that Kelly doesn't forget it in his head, to be sent to Kelly by email no later than Sunday night. Monday morning, he will email legal counsel with those questions. Okay. So that takes us to all of the stuff in the memorandum that we didn't get to today, and we are not going to in the next 20 minutes. I think that this is a valid discussion, you're right? Good discussion.
that's the thing,
Do it,
I'm not sure how to,
but I don't know how to.
yeah,
I think
we need
we're
to
gonna,
brainstorm some solutions, because I'm gonna be that guy and say that legitimately, I think we need to answer the questions in the memos that we get from our legal counsel, like we did last week. But I also think we need to do what we did this week for each of these articles, because look at how many extra questions we came up with
Right.
once everybody was able to look at words on paper.
Right.
And also just to double check the drafter. For some of those sections, I was writing from whole cloth, and you guys needed to be able to revise that.
And keep in mind, we have a set number of weeks, so you can't take 2 weeks for all the sections. Are there any sections that we think will be easier?
Well, let's make it quicker too, just naturally, because we're gonna get better at it. So the first one, it was really not for like this.
Yeah.
I
I don't know that I want that.
I think that it might behoove us to, I mean, obviously, we're gonna break up into committees, right?
So Paul suggested last week that he was like, no, don't do that, just deal with all of these in the main group.
Oh, I should double.
But if we're legislating everything twice, then wouldn't it be good for a committee to hash it out? Well, a committee to hash it out and bring it to us for the big thing that we just did.
well, that would.
And would that save, I'm not saying that
They come to
save, might
me.
save any time, or would that make it
There were some good discussions last week that really took a lot of people to.
I agree, but we're running up against the time.
Well, what if we did 2 articles and go through them, and then we have a meeting, bigger meeting, and then maybe additional one to do this kind of thing? And
This
then
is-
just until we get through it.
I
And we
don't,
do 2 more, and then we have to.
no matter what, we're gonna have to meet
Yeah.
more. There's no way around it, time
Between
wise.
now and between now and June, right? Either we extend this meeting
Yeah,
to,
either we extend the meeting or
when the work is done, whatever that might be.
or like every other week, we have 2 meetings.
What if we did, we try so really hard to extend or take them away. What if we did a work session on Saturday or Sunday, 3 weeks out of the month, and to your point, go through maybe 2 of these in a work session with whoever can come. You draft something up in our next regular Thursday meeting, we go through that, and it covers 2 sections. It takes us longer to go through the 2 memorandums, but we can do it on the weekend, we're not coming fried from work. leaving our kids that need to go to bed, that sort of thing. I don't think we can do.
And if we can be more thorough with the memorandums in the first place, the more guidance you give me, the better drafted, the more well drafted the document will be once we're here to review it.
So do we want to suggest work sessions on Sunday afternoons then? That would work best for me.
I'm saying, I'm often out of town on Saturdays.
Sunday afternoons, after lunch, what, 1 o'clock?
1, yeah, I'm fine with getting started at 1.
All right, so it's 2 hours to go through one memorandum, so do that, want to do 1 to 5?
That works for me.
I have to.
Because Jen's right, we're gonna have to meet more.
Bring yourself snacks.
And, or you do it earlier, just make it a full lunch meeting, there's no reason to.
And just, just to let you know, until April 24th, I will have weekends where I will not be able to do this. Like, for instance, this weekend, if we were meeting this Sunday, there's literally no way, because I have a project that will be given to me on Friday, and it has to be completed by Monday morning.
Well,
I guess on that note, just to let everybody know, not next week, but the following week, Thursday the 21st through that weekend, Sarai and I are actually both gonna not be present. Our families are going on a vacation to Washington DC together that weekend.
We don't do the weekend at the point?
Sorry, guys.
No, that's fine, I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we
So
go.
I can definitely do this Sunday and the 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, and then the 31st.
St. Patrick's Day?
We'll bring all sorts of green snacks. It'll be great.
Green beer.
But we have to go over the article in order to have, give him the what he needs to do. Yeah, so it's gonna be more like.
We're also gonna have to notify Paul and let him know that he's gonna be sending us memos in a
Right, we can do that, so, okay, let's give it a try, when we want to try it this Sunday.
The Sunday, and we can do the 10th. I don't have any.
I think we're good for this.
Anybody?
I cannot come Sunday.
And I understand you correctly that what we're gonna work on Sunday will be people legislation.
This
Memorandum, I do hope
And I'm going to ask the mayor one as well, if we can work through that, great, but we're at least gonna need.
Noon or 1? Noon or 1 o'clock?
1, 7-1.
Brian, I'm counting on you to cover every opinion I have during that meeting, so I'll be here.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
You're giving up people more work.
Yeah, so
You want to email me your thoughts on it?
You already know my thoughts.
So,
Let's go with that.
1 to 5.
Charter meeting 1 to 5 on the 10th.
And I actually need to make sure the building's available, I don't know that there's anything going on Sunday, but let me put that caveat there.
That'll,
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
that's the first Sunday of each.
What's the gardening thing?
No, it's,
Saturday?
No, that's Sunday at 2 o'clock, isn't that when gardening is?
I don't know.
But that's,
Oh, I just
There's
realized I should've-
no, it's
I thought they did one last week.
Good job.
What, are they doing gardening things?
Oh,
on that.
Sunday
it's a master class.
Sunday from 2 to 4, this building is not available.
Oh.
Doesn't mean we can't be somewhere else.
Why is it building not available?
Community
Community association.
Flag has a garden, the master gardener who comes and speaks.
Yeah, they've got-
Sure, it's not available.
For the,
Well, what if we have started at 4 and we go 4 to like 7 or something this Sunday? And we'll at least get
It
through
was
this
there,
one.
First one.
Well, but we're gonna have the same problem.
They have it
So-
every Sunday, I think.
So does this body have a requirement to meet within the village?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think.
That's a question we might want to ask council.
What if it needs to be publicly accessible?
It does.
The Huntington,
Huntington is one.
There's a subcommittee, the facility subcommittee meets in Washington.
Yeah.
So.
You could be some.
Where?
the new
Building across.
They have a
Yeah.
project.
You just, but we have to get your name on the security list.
Yeah, but that's as easy as
Calling.
calling, right? And then for any members of the public who actually show up, I would imagine, like, they're not pre-clearing anybody, they just have someone there and, you know, so someone could stand out there and say, oh, they're good until we start.
Why did we do Sunday instead of Saturday?
Because Kelly
People are
is
available.
typically is not available on Saturday.
I'm not
I
available
If he's
Saturday.
not traffic.
Right. I don't even know if I'm available this Saturday.
We're not gonna call it. People can count. It's just-
No, that's fine.
It's gonna be
It's either do that or wait till afternoon Sunday, but that's,
So yeah, Sunday before.
I'm still as brain dead.
And yeah, and a Sunday dinner is,
And he does a lot more than that.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I'll be here at 9 AM on Sunday.
I can do that.
So what are we doing? Sorry.
We're still trying to figure out time to do this.
I mean, yeah, I can do any
Can
time
you,
on
wait,
Sunday.
who can do Sunday morning, who can't do Sunday morning? Yes, Sunday morning, Sunday
No,
morning.
Sunday morning.
It's easy. It's easy.
Sunday.
Well, yeah. Well, some people are church. So, do we want to try to do Sunday morning?
If the building is available, like, I can be functional at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, I'm not.
I'll be up at 5.
So we're aiming for the morning then?
So, do we want to
Yes,
try
totally.
to do Sunday morning?
Which, Sunday morning?
Sunday morning, if you can't make it, can you just let us know your thoughts, and we will hash them out, plus you're free to talk, or whatever everything is.
No, I just,
So,
So let's,
And it'll be to, go through Article 4 and possibly 5, the mayor.
yes, so do we want to say 9 to 1? Okay. And I'm still gonna check and let you know.
Yeah, let us know, but
and this is a work session with no votes.
Right, work sessions to give him something to draft so we can do exactly what we did tonight.
Now, we did have those, when we worked through the council.
So we'll be going.
And we can then table that, not have it, and then go.
So we'll be going through the
But
memorandum.
that was only what the mayor.
I said, do you want me to email Paul and see if he can get us the next memo as well in
Yeah.
time for Sunday?
If you want to do that, that would be good.
And then if it's a go, we need to let,
When I check the bills, if I do it, so. we'll-
yeah, and then let them do it.
All right.
I've seen you voting no on everything. Next Thursday.
All right, what, predicting the future. So we're gonna try that plan and see if it works, if not, we'll revisit next Thursday. Yeah, spring break, let's talk about that. What, is anybody,
I will be gone that.
is anybody out?
Thursday.
What date are you talking about?
Yeah, the week of the
18th.
24th.
No. Yeah, it's the last week of March.
Yeah.
Is that what, sorry, I said we're going?
no, that's the week after.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Are you gone?
We're on the 21st.
You know what, you guys, I'll tell you what, email me, each one of you email me when you're out. And
Yeah.
I will put it together and see who's where when.
Okay.
I'm sure I can make it work. It'll be fine. It makes me happy. All right, any other action items that,
Do you have a calendar on the website?
We
we have Outlook?
do, but it's not hooked up to the Outlook. I already had it in the Outlook. There's a calendar.
Were you thinking for us or for advertising?
I'm just thinking, everybody was today off, and then maybe check the council meeting.
Well, if everybody could email me theirs, I can do that. It's one person sending out to 20 people. So if you want this, so, I have that.
Just you need to do that.
It is a Google Calendar.
So you're wondering that, like, in that last part of March, it's not gonna be around.
For the whole month of March, do what you got.
And you're looking at weekends. So you're looking at
Everything, Thursdays, weekends, just like everything.
So
Thank you.
I guess I'll just say it. I know that we like doing our Thursday meetings, but with me being the drafter guy and, or under such a time crunch, does it make sense, so the week that Sarah and I are out, the 21st, do we want to try to meet on Tuesday or Wednesday of that week?
Let's see how we do with the weekend thing and the cycle this week.
So I can also tell you that Tuesday, the room is booked by the Browns. And on Wednesday, planning and zoning is here.
That's right. This month we are taking a second meeting.
Because the village does operate a Google Calendar, I haven't seen.
But we do have the time here earlier and later, right?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, we can add it
Oh, but
out.
if he's not gonna be here.
I'm just thinking in general,
Okay,
if we need to extend this time period, we may want to do that as well.
that's a big ask.
I was wondering, I mean, we made the commitment to, like, determine our form of government. We said we were gonna stay here like up until what was our cutoff, like 11, 12, 1, something like that. I'm wondering if we can do,
I can get clear to stay later, coming earlier.
choose a night, a Thursday night, where we go through two Thursday night meetings where we go through three of them at a time.
Well, I think we have a plan for this coming week.
Yes.
We're gonna see how that works and then revisit it.
I agree.
And that plan is Sunday morning, if it works out.
Yes.
I mean,
And
please us to do both things.
Exactly.
If we have to.
As time gets more crunched over the next month or two, we'll have to make choices.
Yes.
Your friends.
And we were talking about other places to meet. I'm just wondering, if the Glendon Township, building. We are in Glendon.
We are.
And if that might be a different place, so I'll call and see, yeah. If one, we can do it, if two, we can.
Let's say,
Truth would be
good
that
idea.
choice.
I think
Probably not on Sunday mornings.
No, that's.
Well, maybe.
We have to be quiet.
But I think that for right now. I have several.
Thank you.
You're welcome to borrow it, and then when you get yourself one, they're only like $6, $7.
Oh, are they?
They're not much. You can order them on Amazon.
I will,
Or 1:30. Or a place in the church is not being used at that time.
I have one more thing to throw out before we're done, and that is community. Want to do another one?
Yeah.
Or do we want to do another one? Do we feel like we're ready to do another one?
Can we do one, first Sunday?
Before we talk dates, I would like to suggest that we wait and do, I think doing a community meeting once we have both of the articles dealing with council done. And until we have those done, or have a better idea of when we're going to get them done.
Oh, we have to schedule it, so I think it's a worthwhile discussion.
All right.
I think it's fair to say that we would have that done by April 6th, though.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Late.
A little bit later.
First full moon
It's
spring.
later. Yeah, it is
Easter,
late.
yeah, Easter's really late this year.
It is.
It is the 21st.
Good heavens.
Great.
Yeah.
So my mind is-
Mine says it's good, but I-
Oh,
let me flip that forward.
Okay,
Okay, so.
After the spring equinox.
Saturday.
Okay, so I don't think we're gonna.
In spring, yeah, yeah.
That's where we're at. All right, so you're thinking April 6th, that Saturday?
Yeah, just because I threw out a date because we needed a place to start.
Right.
Saturday, April 6th.
Then we take your weekend.
Well, I have no idea whether that's gonna be a project, weekend, I don't know yet.
So we have to know by, I need to check the church availability.
That's definitely what I wanna do on my birthday.
Woo-hoo!
Is that your birthday?
We'll sing you happy birthday.
Don't.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
People.
All right, so if we want to aim for the 6th, when do we want to have those by, when do we need to make our decision by?
We should have flyers ready to go out a week before.
Right.
And
So flyers by March 31st. Okay.
Mailbox flyers again?
Oh my gosh, I have those in my car, the guys I need.
I'll put it, because.
And have had 2 weeks. Flyers by March 31st, and then as far as putting together PowerPoint, we're actually gonna have to do that on our this time. We have such a big problem for the next round.
I guess we had that read. We forgot to look at. Could we get to it? So,
Let's figure that out.
and I am
All right, that was everything I have. We've got 2 minutes left. Anyone have anything else to touch on?
very briefly, what I'm gonna be doing, I think I'm gonna do it an article at a time. So for instance, we won't do it with Article 2 or Article 3, I mean, because it's not done. But I think we should do it with Article 1 in the preamble. I'm gonna get Brian a PDF of each article that is completed, as it's completed, to be posted up on the website. And frankly, we could probably also throw it around on Facebook or whatever, just so people can see, hey, look, here's the progress. This is the language that has been voted on and approved.
Do you want to run it through all as well before we?
Yeah, I can do that. I can send Penny a quick email going, here's an article that's been approved. Can you please double check this to make sure it's not wildly illegal?
That's kind of what we do that. Before we
Um,
advertise it to the voting public.
the other thing that I will do is, as I recolor code, for completed sections, I'll obviously be keeping the OneDrive folder updated with. I'm gonna try to save each new draft iteration as a separate PDF so that we kind of have that version history.
Keep it revising and things on.
I do.
And put significant words at the beginning, because I went on and everything starts, you know, the Bud Never Park Charter, and I don't know to see what it is, where it would be, you know, 3-7 draft or something like that.
So I guess let me ask you if this is not okay then. So the one that I emailed out and put up on the drive was Charter of the Village of Minerva Park, draft Article 3, 6 March 2019, color coded.
The problem is that's in the dot area. She wants her
Oh,
information.
I'll move it to the front.
Absolutely,
No big deal.
absolutely.
And I'm
Art-
with you, because
art
I can't
can't
mouse
read.
over and see it.
I know it's his because it was all in red, but yeah. It's a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it would be
That
the
takes
case
again
again
also.
also. It's all in red. Oh, all right.
All right, yeah, I will move the descriptors to the front, even though that will break my brain.
It reminds you of the battle. All right.
Cool.
Move one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pretty ready to go. Ready to go.
I'm excited as always.